Hey guys, Techie here. Today we're talking about the build I'm running, which is a Boom Boom build. This is not something I've seen a lot, and like I said in the other video where I talked about the specific mod that I use, this is my first real build. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm having a lot of fun running this, and I think one commenter explained, it doesn't matter the damage, it's all about having fun, and I agree with that. So I just wanted to share this build. This does decent damage, by the way. It's not a weak build. It's just not the most optimized for DPS build, or it may be. I don't know enough to compare it. I'm still learning the game. This is my first scenario, but I wanted to share my mod and the build and the memetics that I'm running just because I feel like it's a great way to have a conversation in the comments. Maybe you guys can suggest some improvements and I'll happily check it on. Now, first things first, I gotta say, I don't really have a lot of food recipes, so I don't usually use any food buffs. So apologies there, but I'm sure you guys would know which food recipes are the strongest for burn builds. If you do, drop it in the comments. I'd love to know and try and get those recipes so I can figure it out. I am playing on Manibus. This is not Way of Winter. That's something I'll probably be looking into later. And I'm also not doing Lunar because that came in halfway through my scenario. So just wanted to mention that, preface that. And yeah, so let's just go in. Let's not look at my overfilled backpack, but again, it's a Boom Boom burn build. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I know it's like a little cheesy and people are like, oh, it's just insane amount of damage. It does. And when I'm playing solo, I'm having fun, and most of the time I am playing solo. So let's just look at the build. It's the KVD Boom Boom. It's a tier 5, of course, and I've got the Flame Resonance mod on it. Now, you could run this with Blaze Blessing, which I did do for a while, which gives you like a healing of 5% every time there's damage done. And that's a really good build. That's a really good mod as well. It's just this one right here. Let me just grab, there you go. So it gives you recover 5% of your HP. You'll not feel like you need to heal ever. That said, it takes away the damage that this would give you, which gives you another burning stack, 2 burning stack, and the burning duration, well, though it's negative 20%, it doesn't make a huge impact because you're just stacking them so much. So for me, the difference in damage to health, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it out, and I haven't felt like I'm losing a lot of health, which I think goes to show that you could possibly just do this and be fine with it. Moving on to the mod again, the Flame Resonance. It's not the best role. For example, I have crit damage, which is great, love that. Damage against great ones, love that. Damage against normal, love that. Reload speed, don't really care, and I'll get to it very soon, but it doesn't matter to me. I wish I could change that out for something else, but in case I ever need to rely on a reload speed, I'm glad that there's there. It's not the god roll, but it's a pretty good roll, and I think the 3 blues and the legendary perk, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I haven't fully leveled enhanced this. That's 4 out of 5. I'm gonna probably just do it. I just ran out of the armor, the weapon mod things. And secondly, this is where I differ, I think, from most people. Most people run the Wildfire, which is probably the way you should be running it. But there's a reason for this, and that's why I'm swapping and I'm using the Critical Pulse. The Critical Pulse, very, very OP weapon at this point. And when I say OP, I don't mean it like it's broken. I mean, it's kind of broken, but it's greatly powerful. Makes it very easy to do, especially crowd control, and that's what I've kind of spec'd this gun, the weapon to. So if you look at the mod, I have the Static Shock Talents, which gives me elemental damage. Now I need a Talents mod on the this one, right, instead of Violent, because crit damage is great, but I rather have the things. But I did not have enough talents to make that mod. That's why I'm running the Violent one. So if you have enough to make yourself a Flame Resonance talent mod, definitely do that, because I feel like the elemental damage that it'll give will be just insane and make the gun even more crazy. So again, as I was talking about Static Shock, it has the talent, it has the elemental damage. Brilliant numbers for what it is. Again, first real work through the mod conversion table, and I was fine with it. Very happy with the things that I got, except for the magazine capacity, which is the most useless thing you can have on a crossbow. But you know what? You can't be happy. You don't get perfect rolls ever. But damage against normal enemies is what I use this for. I use it as crowd control or for the ads, which is perfect. And moving on to melee, honestly, completely ignored it. I just put this on because it doesn't make a difference. I don't use the melee. It's just not a thing I spend time on, not something I bother with. But if you are somebody who runs a melee build, you'll probably have a melee base. Like if you look at my mod things, I don't even have a melee mod anymore. I just break them. I don't use melee at all. So those are my guns, and going to the gear, I'm running the shelter set with the barbecue gloves, and I'm using Lone Wolf shoes. Now, the reason I'm using Lone Wolf shoes is it gives me magazine capacity. Honestly, I'm going to be changing that out once I get a bit more Star Chrome and I can maybe go for the Bastille. I think the Bastille set has a little bit different setup. Like if you go here, where's Bastille? Renegade, I don't need to use. If you don't use the main mod I'm talking about, which is Reaper, you might want to use Renegade, but I don't need it, so it doesn't matter to me. But I think, where's Bastille? Is this Bastille? No. Where did Bastille go? Bastille. Yeah. I think I'll switch over to Bastille at some point once I have the blueprints unlocked, because I like the fact that you get a weapon damage boost, even though I don't think I'm gonna be over 70% health a lot. But there is an inverse of that, which is also, I believe, is a typo. It's the new one that's come out from where is that? Where is it? The treacherous, right? It's that if you have 2-piece treacherous, even though it says above 70%, I believe it's actually below. That's what I've been told by other streamers and creators. And I think that I trust them because this was made for Lunar. So I believe that, and I believe that is a typo. I haven't unlocked it yet, so I can't test it out for you guys. But if you know, please let me know. I'd love the confirmation, because I think then that would be something to play with. Although I don't have a 2-piece ready to go, I'll go for a single piece probably. If I'm going for a single piece, I would go for the Bastille, because it'll give me weapon damage when I'm above 70%, which, I mean, it's not too hard when you're running around. When you're in a boss battle, maybe it's a little harder, but at least while you're ahead of that 70%, you have that 10% extra weapon damage, and that applies to both weapons, which is awesome. So right now, like I said, I did wander a little away, but I have the shelter hat, the mask, the top, and the pants, and then I have the Lone Wolf shoes. Again, it gives you magazine bonus. I'll tell you why it doesn't make a difference to me, but we'll get there in a second. And of course, I have the barbecue gloves, which just boosts up the burn. I know you can also use the boots. So maybe that's something you can do. You can swap out the gloves and put on the boots. I don't have the boots unlocked, so I can't tell you. I've heard it's effective, but everyone I talked to kind of recommended to go with the barbecue, and I had it unlocked, so that's why I'm doing it. So a lot of this build, you might be like, well, this is not the ideal build. It might not be, because I'm just working with what I have. As I unlock more and as I find and play more, I'll probably do an updated build. But this has been working out great for me. And when you look at the mods, you can kind of see why. I'm going to start off with the most important mod for this build for me. It is the Ruthless Reaper mod. I did a video just about this. I'll link it in the description. Definitely check it out. I think there's been a really nice discussion going there. Some people favor it. Some people favor the other mod that if you don't take any damage for 4 seconds, it gives you the 20% boost to damage, which is why not many people use Ruthless Reaper. Totally understand that playstyle, but there's a nice discussion going there. Definitely check it out. I'll link it in the description, as I said. But basically, Ruthless Reaper, the gist is you get 2 kills. Your magazine is reloaded. It's filled. You don't have to do the animation. There's no delay. There's no losing of momentum. You just basically keep firing, and it just keeps going. And sometimes, like I mentioned in the other video, you get 2 kills, and you get that 3rd kill. It'll do it again. So I don't know if it's exactly how it's working and the exact sciences and the numbers behind it, but I'll just say it's been really effective. I've had a great time running Ruthless Reaper, and this is what prompted this whole build, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And this is why I said if you want to use DE50 Wildfire, you will really enjoy it, because you're going to have Ruthless Reaper affect that too. So when you're running around shooting ads around and under-leveled areas, you won't even need to use your Boom Boom. You can just go Wildfire and just keep popping them away, and you don't even bother reloading. Something to think about if you run an SMG, assault rifle, whatever. It makes great sense. This is such a good mod for me. I mean, I love it. Going to the hat, I'm running a mod that copes really well with the Ruthless Reaper, and that's the Momentum Up. So basically, the core effect of this is it gives you 10% extra fire rate for 50% of the mag, and damage, weapon damage, for 30% of the last 50% of the mag. So at the first half of the mag, your gun shoots faster. The second half of the mag, it hits harder. I wish it was inverted. I would have loved it if it was inverted. But, beggars can't be choosers, because the fire rate, 10%, basically means my gun now has 10% boost in fire rate permanently at all times. That is a great deal for DPS if you're looking at a very high DPS build, which is what everyone seems to be going for. Again, for me, this build is fun, but it does do a decent amount of damage and DPS. It doesn't make sense if I shoot it in a dummy, and that's why I don't use them in my videos, because the 2 kills effect and all that, you kind of have to experience it. So I'd suggest, if you're able to, run it with these mods and see what you think. But again, with this, I got a decent roll, but it's kind of pointless reload speed in there. But it's you're not gonna be happy. I'm gonna be making each and every one of them on my own with the mod conversion at some point, but right now I'm kind of happy with what I got, but I'm all right with it. That's why I stopped leveling this and I just left it there. But this Momentum Up mod makes the Reaper even stronger, because it means you have a permanent 10% increase to your fire rate, because you're always on the first half of your magazine, unless you don't get kills, in which case you get a 30% damage bonus towards the end. Win. Love it. Going to the mask, it's again the shelter mask. I like the look of it. I don't tend to make them visible anymore, but I like the look of it. But this is a Retrusion Explosion. It's basically when hitting burn enemies, crit rate is 8% and crit damage is 20%. I think this is just a good mod if you're running any sort of burn build. You just need it. It's just part of the burn thing. And I got a talents variation of it. So basically what that means is talents relies on your status damage. So like things like elemental damage will be there in the perks. Whereas if you go violent, that will be crit. There's a couple of other ones, but these are the two that I've mostly, I think precision is like aiming and range. I'm not sure, but it's like all of these things have meanings to them. But for me, if I'm running a burn build, I would spec everything to talents, because you then get the elemental damage, which is what you want. So again, here, elemental damage, I'm running 2 elemental weapons just to remind you guys. So 6.4% is brilliant. I love that I got that. Damage against great ones is 1.2. Weapon damage reduction is 1.2. And again, a reload speed. But it is what it is. I can't complain too much. But this is so good, because you're getting that throughout on both guns with the elemental damage. But when it comes to the burn build, I think this is such an important mod, because it just boosts your crit rate and crit damage. And now going to the shelter atop. That said, though, if you wanted to run this with violent, you will further improve your crit rate. So it's a choice to you. I like the elemental damage, so I prefer talents, but if you want to go violent, you could probably still run a really good mod. When it comes to this, I used an Ardent Shield. This just kept being suggested everywhere. I don't know if this is actually helping or not. I haven't noticed this being in work. It's one of those things where I'm pretty sure there's probably a better option. Maybe something like these are the only 3 I have, because I constantly break the mods down unless they're legendary. So my HP is not usually lower for a long time, and I don't know what deviated states and all that is done enough to go into the status immune. And then the enduring shield, the safe haven it's all right, but now it just feels like it's whatever. So I used the Ardent Shield. I had a decent roll with it. I have damage against normal enemies, elites, weapon damage direction, as well as weak spot damage, which is nice. But yeah, I have this. You guys tell me if, oh yeah, precision is weak spot damage. Figured it out. Yeah. But you guys tell me if there's a better, chest mod that would work with this build. Please let me know. I'd love to, learn from you guys and figure that out. Now, when going to the pants, we have bullet, siphon, precision. These are just found mods, by the way. I didn't make them, but I got weak spot damage, so I like that. It's precision. And basically weapon damage for every 5 bullets consumed in the magazine. Grants weapon damage, plus 4 weapon damage, capped at 20%. The problem here is you're kind of capped at that 5%, because you're not going to consume too many bullets unless you're fighting just a boss. If you fight ads or stuff, you're constantly refilling that magazine. So I don't know if it continues to go and you cap at 20. I don't think so. I think you'll only get that 5%, which, I mean, it's not great. There's probably a better mod here again. But for me, with what I had, I think it doesn't make a difference because my magazine technically doesn't change. I'm not reloading, so I don't know if that works. So I've kind of kept it to the point where I'm just going to leave it with that. But there's probably a lot more. This never works because my magazine is never empty. So I'm pretty happy with what it is with the bullet siphon. Again, if you have a better suggestion, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And then when it comes to the glove, we have Elemental Overload, a very strong mod. Again, I think it's one of those must-have mods when it comes to this build. It just gives you elemental damage 18%. That is that's just across the board. I run 2 elemental guns. That's affecting both of those. Great. I have a decent roll with this as well. I had the weapon damage. I had the damage against elites and head damage reduction, which that's whatever. And then damage against normal enemies. So that helps both of my guns with crowd control, with bosses, and it's fantastic. Well, mini bosses, not the bosses, not the great ones, but still happy with this. I would rather have, instead of head damage reduction, damage against great ones, but you can't, again, have everything you want. So then we come back to the shoes again. This mod, I love this mod. This changed the way I play the game. This changed the way I approach fights. I'm not thinking about ammo. I'm just making sure I have a crap ton of ammo on me, and then I don't have to worry about reloading, and I love that. Doesn't matter what the event is. It doesn't matter if it's, a Prime War. It doesn't matter if it's a refinery or boss runs or silos. It doesn't matter. I'm having a blast with this, and I think you guys should give it a go if you haven't. Those are my builds, and one thing I will now show is the Memetics. I'll get to the deviant in a second, but if you look at the Cradle, the ones I have is that. So I have the automatic because 20% damage LMG. I'm running LMG. I could probably drop one of them and get this, but I'd rather have just the other ones. Deviation, while deviation damage against the great ones and elites plus 50. I'll bring it back to this in a second, but yeah, plus 50 damage already. Great. Then I have the status enhancement for, hitting a weak spot. You're running a status build. You're running an elemental build. You need it. It's just, that's the way it is. Then you have the continuous damage, burn or frost. So it doesn't matter if you're running the frost vortex or the burn build. This is such a good thing to have. It stacks up to 3 times. 20% for 10 seconds. Brilliant damage. And great way to hike up your elemental damage numbers, which is all what you should be trying to do with any sort of mod or perk. So, and then you have the Prairie Fire Inferno, which is based on number of nearby units affected by burn. Burn increases blaze damage by 15% per unit, up to a maximum of 60%. This is great. So you honestly, I could switch back to D50 because I don't think I'll need crowd control from Power Surge, a Critical Pulse, but I just enjoy using it. So this build is like, if I was making this a most optimized build, I'd switch it out for D50 Wildfire because you can, inflict bullseye and double your damage probably. Get that first shot in, then just go with the burn. you're set. But I just like using that bow, the crossbow, so I'm just using it. And then for that, I'm just doing after an enemy, just for that. So what I'll probably end up doing is I'll probably drop this and go and give my crossbow a higher damage. I think that is probably the way to go. Or yeah, I mean, if I'm not running the crossbow, I'll probably go with this one, because if you have the unit marked with your 50 wildfire, which is what I believe that happens, you do so much more damage, and that's just insane. So that's what I would switch to if you're switching to a wildfire, which I think you should. I don't, because I like the crossbow. But those are my memetic perks in the Cradle. When I come to my deviation, I have the mini feaster, right? And there's a reason for this. Yeah. So it has these, and you need to have it in this setting, which is the touch of the abyss. I'm going to just go up here and get back in. I don't know how to show it other than just showing it here. So Pyrodino, very popular with everyone. I don't use it. I actually gave mine to Dassy because I was like, you can have it. So this one, the reason I'm telling you to use a specific one, not designated target, don't use designated target, use Touch of the Abyss, because this right here, it follows the player, it sticks with you, it throws down random tentacles against enemies, and it happens every 1.5 seconds. It'll spawn a new tentacle, and for every one tentacle summoned, it increases my status damage by 15% up to 60%. So if you're talking about like after 6 seconds, right? You pull it after 6 seconds of it being out, your status damage is now 60%. Purely because you have this. And this coupled with the Memetic perk, the Cradle perk, brilliant. Now, the other thing is, like you saw here, it does do damage. It doesn't pull aggro, sadly. I wish the tentacles did pull aggro. I might actually have not noticed, but it does do damage. It's doing, 5k damage with one hit. That's fine. So it'll just keep doing this, and it'll keep doing that. And so I don't think it's exactly the way I thought. So I think it's only going to have 1 point. So it's going to hover over the 60% mark. But if I'm misunderstanding that, let me know. But I think this makes it a very strong deviation when you're looking at a elemental build of any sort. I really think this is one of those builds that you can have a lot of fun with. But that's what I've got running. I really enjoy the build. I've not played any levels, dungeons, silos, and not had fun with this, and I've felt like a total badass, because you feel like you're in one of those action movies where you're just constantly firing and you don't even have to worry about reloading. I mean, I will at this point, but because I'm not killing things, but it makes you feel like an absolutely powerful thing. And I think if I make certain changes, like in my own mods, and like I said, this is not a perfect build. Like if I change this mod, instead of what was it? So instead of change all of them to talent, I think that'll just boost this damage up even more. So there's room to improve. And like I said, this is my first real build that I didn't rely on one video or another. And I just, not even in just OH decks, I just kind of figured it out as I read things, and I'm using it and I'm enjoying it. But if you're looking for a higher damage, swap this with DE50 and you're golden. You're absolutely golden. But that's it for me in this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like the build, let me know. If you think there are improvements I could do with the build, or if I'm misunderstanding some things, please do let me know. I'm not like somebody who claims to be an expert. I'm not. This is my first scenario. You guys have more experience than I do, and I would love to learn from you guys and share what I've been doing. And that's why I made this video. This is not an expert's build. This is a build I'm enjoying and I think you would have a lot of fun with. I believe this is equally frustratingly good in PvP. But I know the Critical Pulse has a nerf, so you probably want to stick to Boom Boom side of things. But Critical Pulse, even with the nerf, I think is still pretty strong in PvP, or at least that's my understanding of it. I'm also now an official creator for Once Human, and I'm very happy with this. I thank you guys for all the support in the videos and the streams. If you want to drop by when I'm playing, just hit the link in the description. Jump on Twitch. If not, you want to support through YouTube, that's also fine. How the program works is basically we end up getting codes and such, usually to give away, and I'll be doing the giveaways on stream as well as on videos like this. So keep an eye on it. Subscribe if you haven't, and I appreciate all the support. Like I said, if you ever feel like I'm doing something wrong or I said something stupid that doesn't make much sense, call me out on it in the comments. I would love to learn from you guys and make myself better. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.